Thursday on the Locked On Network can only mean one thing. It is a crossover edition of Locked On Patriots and Locked On Dolphins, previewing the Week 12 matchup between these AFC East rivals.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Crossover Thursday episode here on the Locked On Network. I am Kyle Krabs, the host of Locked On Dolphins, joined by Mike Debate of Locked On Patriots, and we're here to set the stage for an AFC East matchup between two teams hungry for a win. Today's Crossover Thursday episode on the Locked On Network is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app, use code Locked On NFL, and win $50 instantly when you play $5. Mike, it's not been that long since we had a chance to last get together. It was, week 5 when we played up in Foxborough, the Jacoby Brissett versus Tyler Huntley matchup that everybody in the world was excited for. Little different flavor for these two teams this time around. What's going on in New England around the Patriots as Drake Maye continues his strong start to his rookie season?
Well, one interesting tidbit, Kyle, that I think we'll kick off the show with today is Patriots offensive lineman, Patriots offensive guard Cole Strange, once again returning to the practice field. Cole has not seen the field at all this season. He's been on the shelf due to a patellar tendon injury. Still very early to determine whether or not he'll even be ready to continue practicing, or he'll be able to give it a go this weekend, or if he's going to be activated. But it is something to monitor, and it is big news for the Patriots, who need as much help as they can get up front. And for all of the vitriol that's been thrown at Cole Strange by Patriots fans about him being a bust in terms of being a first-round pick, Cole is a very good blocker when it comes to outside zone runs, which is what Alex Van Pelt loves to do. So if I'm a Fins fan, I'm keeping a watchful eye, not necessarily a sharp eye, but a watchful eye on that. And that's something that I think could be monitored. But the big story up here in New England is whether or not a complete team effort can be put out on the field by this team. That means offense, defense, special teams, and especially the coaching staff, which is coming under a lot of fire this week. Questionable decisions on defense, coverage, not exactly what a lot of people would have expected from New England when it came to defense. Very conservative on offense, almost too conservative for the type of quarterback they're employing. And this team continues to have difficulty holding on to the football. So a lot of question marks for the New England Patriots, and they're facing a team that is now starting to improve and show their capabilities. And what is proverbially, annually a house of horrors for the New England Patriots down in Miami this weekend. A lot seems to be working against the Pats as they look forward to their road matchup with Miami this weekend.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to ask you about the Patriots defensively and just kind of this dearth of turnovers in the past month or so. I think one turnover in the last 5 games for New England. They got Christian Barmore back, which is an awesome story for the Patriots. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez and all the things that he brings as a lockdown corner. What's been the biggest barrier in your mind to getting turnovers? Is it just unfortunate bounces of the ball? Is it incomplete defensive scheme and game plan approach? Why has this team that under Belichick was so well known for turnover margin and defensively creating a lot of turnovers kind of struggled in this stretch of games? And they've played 6 games this season without a turnover out of the 11 that they played so far.
Well, I think they've been struggling, Kyle, when it comes to mechanism and when it comes to being able to take away what your opponent does well. And essentially, when you sell out to try to shut off an area of the field like they had in the last couple of weeks against the Bears and then against the Rams, sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not going to work. Christian Gonzalez is an excellent lockdown corner, but if you're putting him out on the perimeter against DeMarcus Robinson and the Los Angeles Rams, and you're leaving Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua open to be able to wreak havoc on the opposite side of the field, it's not going to result in a lot of turnovers, and it's certainly not going to result in a whole lot of success. So the Patriots have been decimated by injury in the secondary. Their safety tandem of Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers has very seldom seen the field together. Obviously, Peppers not seeing the field for off-the-field reasons. But Kyle has been banged up. He was back in the lineup on Sunday, but still working his way back. Jalen Hawkins, Del Pattis, these guys have been doing a decent job of trying to keep the ship afloat. But again, Dell is an undrafted rookie. And when you have him playing cover zero, that's going to result in a lot of big time quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, like Tua Tagovailoa, who they'll see this weekend, kind of feasting on those matchups. So I think the Patriots need to do a much better job of maybe dialing back some of the aggression that they've had and trying to overcompensate for their lack of personnel. Let the personnel they have on the field do the work. If that's the case, then I think they can start getting back to the basics of what this team does well defensively. But when you're missing Christian Barmore for the better part of the season and you don't have that guy up front to take the double team, you're missing elements in the middle of that defense in Juwan Bentley, who is kind of like the traffic director. And then you're missing your best middle of the field or center player when it comes to Jabril Peppers at the safety position. Yeah, it's no wonder why the Patriots have struggled up until this point. So injury is part of it, but the Patriots need to do a better job of scheming the players they do have healthy and on the field.
Mike, what's been the biggest surprise of Drake Maye's play thus far this season for you?
I think his mental advancement in the game, Kyle, has been a big surprise, a pleasant surprise for me. One of the big knocks that I had on Drake coming into was the turnover ratio, was the pressure to sack ratio, his inability or unwillingness, really, I think, two sides of the same coin, to always go for the big play and avoid taking the check down or avoid taking the easier option when it's available in terms of being able to move the sticks. Drake has really made so many strides in this area, Kyle, because you've seen him go from a quarterback that is always pushing it down the field, always feels like he needs to overcompensate for a lack of talent in front of him. You do see that at times because the Patriots offensive line is clearly not the strongest in the league, but he trusts his teammates a little bit more. I think he trusts his mechanics a little bit more. He's leading with the left foot. His eyes are matching his footwork. He really has the ability now to be able to take games onto his shoulders. I'd like to see him schemed up into areas where maybe he is able to take a little bit more chances. The closing moments of Week 10 against the Los Angeles Rams, he missed Demario Douglas on a short route where Demario thought he was going long. And that's an example of maybe being a little bit too conservative and taking those lessons too much to heart. Maybe he does need a little bit of the old, Drake Maye to come out. But bottom line, this kid is showing a poise and a wisdom beyond his years, and his teammates are responding to it. They're buying into it. And as long as he continues to improve on the field, Patriots have found themselves the quarterback that they've been searching for since Tom Brady left.
Well, this team dynamics certainly feel a lot different than they did the first time that the Dolphins and Patriots played, but the same can also be said for Miami with a functional offense with not their third string quarterback playing. And we're going to set the stage for some of the big storylines of what is going on in South Florida next here on this Crossover Thursday episode. Make sure you stick with us. Listen up, renters. If you feel like you're stuck in a loop with rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air, it's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent every month. Pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or a hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked as the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning points on your rent payments today. Football fans can take advantage of all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page as where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. As things currently stand for this Sunday, Week 12 game between the Patriots and the Dolphins, This line is fluctuating between Dolphins -7 and -7.5 as it currently stands as we sit here today and do the crossover. Dolphins -7.5. The game total over under is 45.5, over or under. So if any of those numbers speak to you, don't waste the hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Mike, I'm going to take my hands off the wheel. Where do you want to go? What do you want to know about the Miami Dolphins and what has been a roller coaster season for this football team so far?
Well, Kyle, as you've hinted in the previous segment, these are two different teams that we're going to be seeing on the field this weekend. And obviously, Drake Maye being the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots is part of it. But the real story here is the return of Tua Tagovailoa to this lineup in Miami. Since Tua's return, the Dolphins are 2-2. They're averaging 27.8 points per game with an NFL best 604 conversion rate on third down. So obviously this team is moving the ball much better. The Dolphins have scored on 21 of their last 35 possessions, which I found pretty remarkable. And they haven't punted in 6 quarters. So again, this is a different offense that the New England Patriots are going to be facing defensively. Given what I had to say about the Patriots defense in the previous segment and knowing what you know about this Dolphins offense, what do you believe the approach is going to be this weekend when Tua takes the ball and this Miami offense and Mike McDaniel and that coaching staff looks at what the Patriots are bringing defensively? How do you think they're going to match up this week?
Yeah, the Dolphins set a season high in rushing yards the first time these two teams played, and I would not be surprised to see them try to push some of the same buttons as far as the running game and getting vertical, and they had some explosive plays between the tackles in that game. But that may be dependent upon the availability of Alec Ingold, the fullback, who was not active for each of the last 2 games the Dolphins have played. But obviously the short week coming off Monday Night Football into the Sunday game against the Raiders. And the run games really regressed. They had posted over 100 rushing yards and at least 149 rushing yards in 4 consecutive games, and then they hit 149 in the last 2 games combined. And they've lost right tackle Austin Jackson for the season with some kind of a knee injury at the end of the Bills game, so his absence has been a piece of that puzzle as well. But the way that they're covering for that is a lot more of the methodical completions and taking short routes as a extension of the passing game or an extension of the running game to stay on schedule with the offense. And that gets into a lot of the third down conversions that you alerted to and the efficiency of the offense and just these crazy long, like multiple opportunities in the last 3 weeks to go 90 plus yards on touchdown drives for like 15 play drives. Like that was not the Dolphins of 2023. And the fact that it seems like the team has taken the struggles of how they had to play without Tua and then applied that into the dynamic of Tua being back. It's added an extra layer to how they go about their business. And I do expect that they will probably look to mitigate some of those pressure looks that the Patriots have given with Bill Belichick and Gerard Mayo off the same coaching tree of obviously, and negate a lot of that by spacing the field, creating checkdowns. They've been very good at getting all 5 eligibles out into routes, and that allows them to have answers based on where you're choosing to bring your pressure. And if you want to organically bring 4 and play guys on the roof, then they'll look to run the football. And that's kind of been touch and go at the beginning of each one of these games as they figure out what everybody's temperature is to try to do whatever when they play them.
Yeah, very good point. And again, you're looking at an offense with Tua Tagovailoa at the helm. That includes Jalen Waddle. That includes Tyreek Hill. That includes Raheem Mostert. And obviously, the Dolphins had a very good time running the football, like you said, in the first matchup. Probably going to be a little bit more of a balanced attack now with Tua back, calling signals and under center. But at the same time, there's so much to account for. And the Patriots defense needs to be wary of that. They tried blitzing Matthew Stafford 18 times last weekend and did not get home once. If the Patriots want to have any type of success, they need to turn up the pressure. They need to get home, but they also need to be able to stop the run. And that may be where Christian Barmore could be a little bit of a help for this team because obviously they didn't have him the first time. But for as much success as you talked about the Dolphins running game having against the Patriots defense last time, The Patriots were able to gash the Dolphins offensively on the running game on a couple of occasions in the first meeting. Ramondre Stevenson carried the ball 12 times for 89 yards. Antonio Gibson, 6 for 52. Both turned in a couple of big plays, 33, 24, 33 yards, 24 yards. But the Patriots have not approached that type of production since that time. And this running game has had difficulty getting on track. For an Alex Van Pelt run offense, which predicates itself on using the run game to facilitate play action, they haven't done a whole lot of, they haven't been able to do a whole lot in terms of being able to make that a focal point or at least a prominent point in their offensive game plan. From my perspective, this looks like a battle that the Miami Dolphins are well equipped to win, stopping the Patriots running game. But you know the team better than anyone. Do you believe that Miami's defense this time around is better suited to bottle up the Patriots offense?
I think they've had a lot more positive momentum as far as defending the run. In each one of their first 6 games on the season, they allowed at least 100 rushing yards total to opposing offenses. The last 4 weeks, it's been 82, 94, 70, and 60. And they've kind of found an emergence with Deshaun Hand as kind of the third interior defensive lineman. At the beginning of the year, it was Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell as 2 really well-established guys, and you didn't really know what else you had to work with. And they brought in a bunch of guys and threw a bunch of stuff at the wall to kind of see what was going to stick. And it seems like Deshaun Hand is the one who, when they go with their even front looks and they have 2 interior defensive linemen on the field, he's the guy they feel good about being the rotational guy if they want to keep Sealer on the field or if they want to keep Campbell on the field, but they don't have to play them both at super high snap volumes. He's been the one who's been the next in line. Against the Raiders, who played a ton of 12 personnel, it was a big matchup for Brandon Peely, for Benito Jones. And Benito Jones at nose tackle had a great showcase against the Raiders that I think was the best interior defensive line performance of anybody this season, not named Zach Sealer or Calais Campbell in a single game. So the question is, how hot is the hand of Benito Jones if you want to go with your base defense looks, which they may be more inclined to do because it sounds like that Kendall Fuller is going to be out this week as well, his second consecutive week missed with a concussion. So that kind of creates more of a question with the third corner. It's been a UDFA in Storm Duck, who was out snapping Cam Smith, who had primary looks at that opportunity the last 2 weeks before that. So do they have comfort with one of those players? Would they rather stay in base and clog the interior gaps and kind of structurally build themselves in the opportunity to be more stout against the run? I think that's one of the big questions, like schematically for Miami and how they choose to play this, because obviously you have a quarterback in Maye who's a little bit more capable of getting off his spot than what Jacoby Brissett is. So you don't want to play with less numbers on the back end unless you feel comfortable with what you have to plaster those guys and cover those guys. So that I think that is one of the big decisions Miami's going to have to make coming into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when it comes to Drake Maye, this will be the first time that this Dolphins defense has faced Drake as a starting quarterback. From around the league, one of the questions I've been asking a lot of our colleagues here on Locked On podcasts, especially from the NFL channel, is their impressions of the young rookie quarterback. From a Miami perspective, what's the buzz around facing Drake Maye this week? Is there an excitement level? Is there an anticipation level? Do they believe this is a matchup that they have the upper hand with? What's the vibe surrounding Drake Maye when it comes to the opponent this week?
I think the Dolphins team is saying all the right things. I think they know also that it's go time for them. They dug themselves a massive hole. And I think the intensity you have seen, particularly defensively the last 2 weeks, but offensively the last 4 weeks, and they were without a couple of key players in the first 2 weeks. The Tua was back, and it really hurt them. They know their margin for error is very slim, and I think that carries over. And I thought that showed against the Raiders, regardless of what the record is of the opponent. They have to play with a certain level of intensity. So while it might be easy to look at the Patriots schedule and say, oh, rookie quarterback, we can cross him up, Jalen Ramsey, going to tempt him to take a couple of chances and throw tight window throws and try and facilitate a few picks or anything like that. That's not the way that they played against the Raiders. They were very execution oriented against the Raiders, and they just decided we're going to play our game and we're going to try to force you as the opposing team to methodically work your way down the field and not make mistakes. And they did a pretty good job of that until the game they got in the red zone. They got stopped a couple of times in the red zone, forced for field goals, and then the game script tipped over. So I would not be surprised to see this team not come out guns blazing and say it's a rookie quarterback, we're going to light him up and come after him. I think they'll try to play their game, and certainly it'll be a good test because this is a quarterback that brings a whole bunch of different things to the table than Jacoby did. And if you're not able to get him down, that's been something Miami struggled with, is finishing some of those opportunities for sacks. That's when they've really gotten hurt. So hopefully they apply the lessons of playing Josh Allen twice this year and playing Kyler Murray this year. Those quarterbacks made you pay when you couldn't get them on the ground. So that's certainly something I think will be in the back of a lot of Dolphins players' minds. We're going to get into keys to victory next here on this crossover Thursday. Locked on Patriots, Locked on Dolphins. Make sure that you stick with us. Today's crossover Thursday episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. This month is all about gratitude. It's important to let the people that mean the most to you know how much they mean to you. There's another person, though, we don't often thank enough: ourselves. It's hard to sometimes remind ourselves that we are trying to be our best to make the sense of everything. And in this crazy world, that isn't easy. Here's a reminder to send some thanks to people in your life, including yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you could switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Okay, Mike, keys to victory in this game. What stands out the most to you as the things the Patriots have to achieve if they're going to come to Miami and get a win?
Well, again, I think it comes back to using pressure and making it count, Kyle. We talked about earlier how the Patriots have attempted to put pressure on quarterbacks, but they're not getting home. The Pats' quarterback pressure rate is 31.5, and their average time to pressure is 2.58 seconds. Now, conversely, when you look at Miami and Tua Tagovailoa's 6 starts, he's been pressured on 20.3% of his dropbacks, an average time to throw of 2.43 seconds. So if I'm the New England Patriots, you need to pay attention to both coverage and tackling because that's going to be key. You have to find a balance between both. The coaching staff needs to adapt if their coverage schemes are not working, something they haven't done the last couple of weeks. I think they hear a lot of the noise coming from the fans and the media up here in New England, so I would look for them to be on alert to adjust when things aren't working their way. But they also have to remember that they do need to finish their tackles, and this is something that they're not doing, and a lot of teams are making them pay for it. So if you're going to apply pressure, you have to make it count. You can't have it come up empty and expect to beat the Miami Dolphins. They will absolutely decimate you, and they'll leave you in the lurch and it won't be pretty down in Miami Gardens this weekend. I think another key for the Patriots this week is they're going to have to attack Miami where they believe they might be a bit vulnerable. And you mentioned Kendall Fuller being out this week. This is a group that struggles to cover tight ends on occasion, and they had difficulty with Brock Bowers last week. He caught 13 passes for 126 yards. They did shut down the rest of the Vegas passing game, but they allowed a guy like Bowers to be able to hurt them. So if I'm the New England Patriots, I'm looking at both Hunter Henry and I'm looking at Austin Hooper as guys that could potentially get some yardage down the field or be a type of a threat if some of the wide receivers are simply not doing their job in New England, or if Drake's having difficulty shaking them free and throwing them open. So that's something that I would look for as well for the Patriots. And bottom line, if the Patriots are going to have any success at all in this game, they have to, one, protect the ball, and they have to limit their opponent's takeaways. That includes erroneous penalties, which the Patriots have not been able to do well. They were penalized 7 times last week for 45 yards. That cannot happen if they're going to attempt to get a victory on the road this weekend. So they need to do a much better job of protecting the ball, scheming it, and also being able to attack their opponents when they're weak. It sounds simple, but that's the way it's been for the Pats this year. It's the little things that have doomed them in some games that maybe they should have been better equipped to win.
Yeah, I look at this game for the Dolphins and the keys to victory that they have, and I look at you mentioned attacking opponent where they're weak from a Patriots side of things, and the Patriots offensively this season come up short as far as their league standing in a couple of areas where the Dolphins defense actually ranks quite well, and that's third down and red zone.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots currently rank 26th in the NFL with 35% conversion rate on third down. They are 46.9% touchdown percentage in the red zone. That is 29th in the NFL. The Dolphins have been a top 10 team defensively on third downs all season long. And that's despite the Raiders were almost unstoppable on third and fourth down.
Mm-hmm.
I think they only got 3 or 4 stops on like 16 opportunities on third and fourth downs in this past game. They didn't tackle well in front of the sticks. But the Dolphins ranked 10th in the NFL in third down percentage defensively at 35%. And they're giving up touchdowns on just 48% of their defensive trips into the red zone. That ranks 8th in the NFL. They have to keep that trend going against a team that has, across the course of their season thus far, struggled relative to league average. If they can do that, I think you'll see the same kind of script that unfolded with the Raiders and the Rams, where maybe those teams are both able to move the football. But the Dolphins kept the Rams out of the end zone entirely. They kicked 5 field goals in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And the Raiders had 2 possessions in the first half. The entire first half had effectively 2 possessions for each team. Miami gets a touchdown and a field goal. The Raiders kick 2 field goals. They go into halftime with a lead. So that's been part of the script, has been you may give up some yards, but don't break. And I think that's another thing this week when the field gets a little bit more compressed and things happen a little faster and there's more bodies in a tighter space. How do you choose to attack a rookie quarterback in that opportunity? And I think that's a big opportunity for Miami in this game. I do think they'll need to run the ball a little bit better than what they have from a negative runs perspective. The Dolphins are number 1 in the NFL in negative runs, of runs that have gone for at least -1 yard thus far this season. They're in the high 40s. I think there's only 2 other teams in the NFL that are at least over 40, but Miami with that top spot. Those negative runs have really been a detriment. They've looked a lot better with some of their on-schedule stuff, but then they'll get a chunk gain, and they'll pass for a first down, and then it's 2nd and 12 because they lose 2 yards trying to get out on the edge. So whether this process for them includes Alec Ingold or not, that's a big point of emphasis, I think, for Miami. They have to start getting better at avoiding the minus runs. They do that in this game, and I think that it will bode well for their ability to, again, stay on schedule, be very clock-oriented. And I think the last thing that they need to do is they need to figure out what they need to do to get Chop Robinson to continue his strong stretch of play. He's been their one organic winner from a pass rush perspective. The last 3 weeks have been the best 3 games he's played in his rookie season. He's really starting to come on. There's been some chemistry with some twists and stunts and games. And if Cole Strange plays, and that's a new player that hasn't played that you're inserting back in, can you attack that with some gap exchanges and miscommunications? If it's not, the strongest pieces of your defense have still been Zach Sealer, Calais Campbell. Lean on those guys, the experience that they have. Try to get some wins, try to get some runs in Drake Maye's face, because Chop's the guy who's athletic enough to get him on the ground, but you got to get him some free looks at the quarterback for that to happen. So that's where my mind goes for keys to victory for the Dolphins. Any final thoughts here as we wrap up this crossover?
No, I think, it's always an honor and always a privilege to do these crossovers with you each and every year. Here we are wrapping up yet another year's worth of crossovers for Miami and New England. Miami hoping maybe to be able to find a way into the playoffs. New England's chances are essentially done. But it's always fun doing these, Kyle, and looking forward to a fun one down in Miami this weekend.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that it's a clean game. I'm hoping it's a healthy game. Obviously, this time of year, the injury reports start getting real long. And Mike, I'd like to make a pact with you. I'd like for us to try to aspire to get 3 of these crossovers in next year. I think that'd be something we would both love to do. So here's to that coming to come into pass in 2025. But it's been a pleasure with you this year with our 2 crossovers as well. I'm Kyle Krabs. He's Mike Debate, Locked On Patriots, Locked On Dolphins. We'll have you covered all week long in the build-up to Sunday's game and in the immediate aftermath of the game, because it is your teams every day here on the Locked On Network. We appreciate you guys for checking out this crossover. Come back and see us again soon.